Welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. Today's episode is all about summer DIYs, and I am choosing to show you 5 beautiful French country farmhouse summer DIYs. These are sure to freshen up your home on a budget and bring in that touch of French country farmhouse. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing. If you do like any of today's videos, remember to hit that thumbs up. But let's go make some DIYs. In my stash, I have several of these tags. I feel like a lot of times they come from Christmas time. I've noticed Dollar Tree starting to carry some blank ones for you to use. This one I think came from Dollar General, but I made a tag a couple of years ago on my channel with a beaded garland, and it has honestly been one of the most popular DIYs on my channel. So I thought I would kind of do a different take or an update on just a cute little tag to have for your decor, whether you use it in tiered trays, whether you just use it as an accent piece, but that's what I'm doing here. Now the paper didn't tear off the front of this as easily as some of the other ones I've had, so I'm just using a little bit of water and I'm just kind of moving that around with my finger and my putty knife. This is just getting all of that glue and residue off so I have a completely clean surface to work with. And then I'm just going to give this a basic coat of white paint. Now as I was doing this, I took some of this paper here and I started kind of distressing it with that to give some texture to it. I really like that, kind of like almost like a wet distressing here. And then my putty knife as well, I kind of use that to kind of rough it up because I like that look. If you're not a fan of that, then you'll just skip that step. Now in my stash, I have a lot of chalk couture things. There's some information down in my description box if you're curious about chalk couture, but it's just kind of like screen printing or stenciling. So I'm just taking, this is some script that I have here, and I love this. I thought this would be really cute. I love kind of that script in the background on some pieces. And so you first put it on your little fuzzy mat there, and it's going to help it so it doesn't tear your paint up when you rip it off. I'm sure we've all been there with like Cricut or something when you peel up that transfer paper and it tears half your paint up. So it just kind of stops that from happening. So once I decided the position I wanted this script to be, I wanted it kind of be a little bit at an angle. I thought that looked really cool. I'm just taking a light blue color here and I'm just scraping it on and then just kind of cleaning it up here with the chalk paste. And then you'll just peel that back to reveal your design. And I thought that looked so lovely. I really like how this turned out here. And then these also came in the same collection. You could do whatever you wanted. If you have don't have chalk couture pieces, the transfer stuff from Dollar Tree would work really, really good. I know at the craft stores in the scrapbook section, you can buy kits that have all of the different like 3D embellishments and things. I mean, just use your creativity. This is just to give you inspiration here. I really loved the postage stamp on here, and I loved that it said number 34 because I don't know how but Chalk Couture knew this, but 34 is like my lucky number. I don't know why, but that's just been a number that's kind of stuck with me. So I thought it was perfect to use on this. So, you know, if it has no significance to you, that's great. But it did to me when I saw it. I thought, okay, I'll try that. So I thought I would put a little ticking stripe on the bottom because it needed something a little extra. And when I did that, I felt like the top of it needed something too. So I'm just using some washi tape from Dollar Tree and using that as my barrier there so I could have these crisp lines. And I just did the top in the gray. Now I have these beaded garlands here and I'm trying to decide to do the darker or the lighter. Now I chose to do the darker, so it's a matter of personal preference. I buy these at Hobby Lobby. They usually have them at fall and Christmas time, and they're like meant for, you know, garlands or things like that, these beaded garlands here. And I buy them when they're 40% off. They end up being $6. It's the cheapest way to buy beads, plus they're already strung for you. So you can see I didn't have to string any of these. I just cut it off. I'll take the extra beads that I took off there so I could tie these off, and I will put those just in my bead jar, so I'll have some extra if I need them. And then I'm just taking the end that was already tied for me there. It's a loop, and I just stick that through the tag there and pull the beads right through, and that's what's going to fix this to my tag there. And then of course I thought it would be fun to do a tassel on the end. So I'm just taking a piece of wood and wrapping my twine around it. I do it about 20 times or so. Just depends on how thick you want your tassel. Also the piece of wood, the larger it is, the longer your tassel is going to be, so keep that in mind as well. And I just slide that off of the wood wood there, and then I'm just deciding where I want to make the neck. I've learned that there's the neck of the tassel, and the top part is called like the head of the tassel. And so I stick just a little stencil brush through there to create where that neck and the head of the tassel are, and then I just wrap the twine around so that way I can make sure I have a big enough loop in the head of the tassel there. And then you just cut the ends off there. And I'm just tying this onto the end of the beaded garland, and you just want to make sure to get the ends as even as possible. I'll straighten them out and trim them, and then I'll put them in a different position, straighten them out and trim them so you can get as flat of edge on the tassel-y pieces there. And then I like to put water on mine. My sprayer wasn't working, so I just dumped the water on here, which worked fine as well. And I just flatten it out, let it dry, and then you can fluff it up. But I think this turns out so cute. This is going to be perfect, a little accent piece. I love having these as a piece of texture in my decor, and hopefully you guys like this tag as much as you liked my other tag. I would love to know your thoughts on this down in the comments. Today's video is part of the 5 Under 5 DIY challenge. This month's theme is summer decor, so everybody on the playlist has 5 summer DIYs that each cost $5 or less, and everybody had the flexibility to decide what summer meant to them, so there is going to be so many fun different ideas on this playlist. My guest host this month is Tammy from Happiness Created. I have known Tammy since pretty much day one of when I started my channel. She is an amazing crafter. She has such fun DIYs, and her videos are so beautifully done, and I just love to sit back and watch her videos, and she has such a great personality. I know you guys are going to love her. Tammy loves to create all things farmhouse. She does a little bit of shabby chic, some vintage, even some French country. She does a lot of everything, and she does such a beautiful job with all of it. I just love her DIYs. They always turn out so pretty. So definitely check out her channel as well as the entire playlist and see all of the different fun summer DIYs everyone has for you. I was so excited when I saw this piece in the thrift store. It was missing one of its little like hanging knobs there. It was $1.50, I believe, is what I paid on this piece. And it, clearly it's meant to be hung on the wall for you to hang something from, like your aprons or something. I don't know, whatever you use, some cute little decor or something. But it was missing a couple of one of the little knobs on it. So I'm just going to remove the others, and I'm going to turn this into a riser. You guys know I love my risers. They're so fun. They're such a great way to bring some different textures into your decorating, and I feel like they're pieces that can be used over and over again. I recently did a bridal shower for my niece, and I took all of my risers, and we had the most beautiful display of food for the table on all these different heights and different things. It was so pretty. So they really do come in handy, and I just love having a lot of them. So it takes just a minute for me to get all of the hardware removed from this. I even removed the pieces where you would hang this because we don't need them there anymore. And I'm going to end up spray painting this so I can get into all those little grooves. Hand painting this I think would be kind of a nightmare, so I didn't want to even go down that road. I'm just taking a little spackling. My spackling is kind of dry. I think I need to get a new tub of it because it was a little bit, but it worked, but it's definitely on its last leg here. But I'm just kind of pushing that down through that opening where the knobs were screwed in. And then I will just let this dry, and then I will go back in and sand it so it's flat. And that's just going to camouflage that hole that was in there from where those little hanging fixtures were. To turn this into a riser, I'm using some little teeny finials. I purchased these on Amazon. I will leave a link to them in my description box. But if you want to make it really easy on yourself, even just some little wood beads, if you have some even from Dollar Tree or something, would work perfect for this. So we're going to paint over them so it could even be like the colored beads from Dollar Tree. But I do love these little finials. I buy them in a pack of like 25 or 50 of them, so I have quite a few, and they just kind of have a little bit of a different shape than a wooden bead, and so it kind of adds just a little bit more embellishment on it than just a plain wooden bead. But again, nobody's going to be turning this over and looking at the back side of it, so you're probably fine to just do what you have. I love this coastal sage color. This is such a beautiful color of spray paint. I couldn't leave this natural because we had to remove that hardware, and so I had to fix with the spackling. So I did need to choose a color, but I think this is going to match my decor so wonderfully, and I think this is a very kind of a neutral color almost in the decor styles that you're seeing today. But look at how pretty this is and how beautiful. I really think this is going to be such a fun riser to have with all of those cutouts and everything, and you can go as simple as you want want or as elaborate as you want, even to put like a couple candles on here or have this in your bathroom with some beautiful perfume bottles or something. I just think this is so pretty. For this DIY, I am using a canvas from Dollar Tree and this little bee pick that I got there. It is so cute. It is a rainbow color, but I'm just going to snap this little pick part off of it because I'm going to end up putting onto my canvas. Now I am going more for a French country bee theme here, so I'm going to paint over this canvas. You could use any type of sign blank that you have or that you wanted to get at Dollar Tree. I just like the square shape of this and it's what I had on hand. I am also going to cover this bee. Yes, I know it is beautiful, all rainbow colored, but it does not fit my theme. So I just want you to see that you can paint over things and make them match your own decor. It does take about 2 or 3 coats on both of these to make sure that I get the coverage that I want, and you can do these in any color. Now I'm just taking some antiquing wax and I'm going to completely cover this bee, and I'm going to end up wiping off most of this antiquing wax. What this is going to do is there's a lot of raised parts on the tin of this little cute bee, and that antiquing wax is going to settle into all of like the little nooks and crannies, if you will. So when I wipe that off, you can see here, you'll be able to see all that little detail that's on there. It also gives it a very aged look, which if you've been around here for a minute, you know that I am a very big fan of that. So again, this would be optional. You can do whatever distressing technique you would like. I just thought this is the way that I went, and I really liked how it turns out. After I do get all of the coverage, I kind of go around all of the edges to kind of bring out a little bit more around the edges to kind of give it a little definition when I put it on the sign. So I just used some painter's tape and tape off kind of a ticking stripe on this little canvas. To me, that really speaks French farmhouse feel. So again, this would be a totally optional thing to do, and I am using a lavender color. So if you like this color, wonderful. If not, you can definitely tailor it to what you like. I thought this would just be a very good centerpiece, a grounding piece for that bee to sit against. So I just kind of use the pounce method against the tape to seal that. So I go around all the edges and pounce that paint on, let that dry, and then I go in with my brush to do my second coat to give it a little bit better coverage. I love the satisfying feeling of peeling back that tape when you do stripes and having them all look crisp and clean. Now just know that if you ever have an area you need to touch up, you can just take a little fine brush and go back in with your base color and kind of touch it up if you need to. Now I thought it would be nice to have this bee have a little bit of a three-dimensional look against this sign here. So I am just putting a little bit of cute, like 2 little wooden cubes from Dollar Tree, and I just glue those onto the back of the bee, and then I just kind of eyeball this as I glue it down into the center. Once I press that down, I realize the wings do feel pretty flimsy, so I take 2 more cubes and I just glue them underneath either side of the wings. That just gives it a little more stability so those wings aren't kind of flapping around there. And look at how beautiful this looks. I love how this turned out. I love the neutral tone of the bee. I love the purple color. I just think this is absolutely perfect. What do you guys think of this? This bucket came from Dollar Tree, and it has this really cool embossed, like pressed tin look to it. And I'm just removing the sticker from the base there, and I thought this would be really fun to kind of match my home decor. I wanted to kind of have it look very rustic, like it had been sitting out for a long time. Hopefully that's what I achieve here, but I'm just taking my white chalk paint. I feel like chalk paint is going to be your best option on this rather than acrylic paint, simply because of that shiny color or the shiny texture finish that the pot already has on it. You're going to want to use that chalk paint, or at least sand it if you're using acrylic paint. So it takes me a couple of coats to get the coverage that I want. Now this is the fun part of projects like this, is you can paint them to match your home decor. So I'm going neutral because I feel like that appeals to a wider audience. However, different colors would be so fun to do if you have different things that you're wanting to try to match or things like that. I feel like the colors that they came in were really pretty. There was like a green color and a blue color that I saw. However, I felt that they just didn't quite match my decor, and so it's so fun to see items like this and be able to pick them up, bring them home, and match them to your decor. Now after I get all of the layers of the paint dry, it took me about 3 coats with my chalk paint. I'm just taking some antiquing wax And you guys, any type of antiquing wax will work just fine. You just want to make sure that it's a water-based antiquing wax. There's several different brands at several different craft stores. Any of them are going to work just fine for you. But I'm just giving this a good coat on here. You can do this as light or as heavy as you want. I really felt like with that pressed tin that is the finish on this, that this antiquing wax is going to go down into all of the little grooves and everything. So after I get all of this covered completely, you can see I have the entire thing covered with this antiquing wax. I also, as you can see here, I forgot to mention that I did paint about 2 inches down on the top of the pot there, and then I also did go in and finish that with some antiquing wax, just so if you were to see inside of the plant that I put in here, you don't see that blue color. You could paint the entire inside if you wanted, but it's not necessary. You can see I'm just taking a baby wipe. I feel like that is the best. A wet paper towel would work just fine. I just don't have. Anyway, long story short, I just keep baby wipes next to my crafting table because it is easy and I buy them in bulk. And I use them all the time as I craft. But I'm just going to wipe away not all of the antiquing wax, but a lot of it, leaving behind all of the little nooks and crannies are going to have that nice little antiquing wax. And it's going to give it a nice little look like it's aged there. I do the same thing on the inside of the pot. Now, what I'll do here, because this is what's fun about antiquing wax when you're doing this process, is if it's a little too dark for you, you're just going to take a little bit of your original color on your brush here and just go over the top lightly. This is just going to hit all of those raised areas and give them that nice bright color of paint, like that bright white on there. And I'll go over the entire bucket here, or pail, and it really, really does help brighten those raised areas, and it keeps that antiquing wax in those pressed areas to have that really aged look to it. Now, I know that some people will comment on why I left the bottom. I did go back and paint the bottom. As you can see here, I also went in with some antiquing wax just to make sure that all of it was covered. Again, if you want to do the inside, you can, but if you're going to have a potted plant inside of it like this, you don't necessarily need that. I think this looks absolutely beautiful. It looks aged, it looks rustic. It does not look like it came from Dollar Tree. It looks like something you would get in a high-end store. I think this turned out beautiful, and this is a staple that you can use all year long. Dress it up for different seasons, change your greenery that's in there for the different seasons. I think this is absolutely beautiful. What do you guys think of this one? I had some wooden blocks that I had picked up at a yard sale, and I just gave them kind of a whitewash, and now I am just going over them and I am painting a faux ticking stripe to kind of match all of my other French farmhouse bead decor that I'm doing. And I just freehand this on here, so it does not have to be perfect. You can tell that I am not by any means able to paint straight lines, but it ends up looking okay in the end. I was a little skeptical, but I think it ends up looking okay. After I get all of those stripes painted on all of the sides of these little blocks here, I go in with some white paint on a little chip brush here, you can kind of see, and I just kind of distress that even more so it does look a little bit more faded. I have been asked by several people to give a little bit more thorough detail on how to print on tissue paper. So I am just taking a regular piece of copy paper and a regular piece of tissue paper. One side of the tissue paper kind of has a shiny sheen to it, and the other side is more of a dull, softer side. So I like to print with that shiny, slick side down to the paper, so that softer side is what is up, what goes through your printer. So I just take a corner of the tissue paper and move in a little bit on my paper, and then I am just placing tape down to tape the corners really well. After I get my first corner taped there, I will just take a pair of scissors and I am just going to trim the tissue paper down to fit on my paper so I can tape all of the edges down. Now, I have seen a couple of different methods on how to tape your paper down. This is how I've had the most success. You can bring the tissue paper around the edges of your paper if you want, just as long as that paper fits through your printer and doesn't rip or anything, and this is how I've had the most success. After I cut it down, I just tape all of the corners down, making sure that my tape covers that entire corner so nothing's going to get caught in my printer. I then take a couple of pieces of tape and I tape along the edges. I don't want any air getting underneath that tissue paper and having it bubble up when it goes into the printer when it starts printing, and this helps prevent that from happening. So I will just feed this through my printer just like a normal piece of paper now. So whatever side you put your paper in, so you want the tissue paper where the ink comes through. Does that make sense? So I'm putting it so it will print on the tissue paper on the paper. So when I first printed mine, I printed it and it came out black, like very dark. You can see here. And that wasn't really the French like farmhouse look that I wanted. So I went ahead and redid my image in Canva, and I just printed these in Canva and did a gray color. You can see this one, the tissue paper did rip a little bit, but it did not rip any of the images, so it's still okay. So I'm just going to, you just cut around these. You can, I mean, I don't like to tear it because I don't want to risk tearing my image. So at this point, I just cut these off here until I get my little tissue paper, and you just take that off of the paper, throw your paper away, and you're left with these darling images printed on the tissue paper. Now, I've had several people tell me that they sell like water pens to do this with, or specific things to do this with. I don't have those on hand. I'm not going to go buy one because it works just fine to use a little paintbrush and a little bit of water and do the method this way. If you have one of those brushes or want to invest in one of those, go for it. I don't see the need because I do this every once in a while and this totally works. So, but I just want you to know there is that tool out there, and every time I do this, everyone tells me about the pens. I am well aware that there are the pens. This works just fine for me. So I just kind of go around my image a little bit with a little water on that brush, and then you're able to tear away that tissue paper, and it kind of gives you a little frayed edge. So when we decoupage this onto our blocks, you're not really going to see the edge of the tissue paper. So now I'm just taking some decoupage on my brush. I am using a matte decoupage, and I am just putting it all over my surface there very lightly. And I am just using, I'm not really sure what this little tool is called here. It came with my Cricut accessories, but I love it for this because then I don't get my fingers all messed up. And I just center it as best I can. And then using my finger, my dry finger, I'm just kind of pressing it around from the middle outwards to kind of have it not have as many wrinkles. And then once I get to that very outward edge, I use my brayer to kind of get that cemented down on there, if you will. And that helps smooth it all out. And then I go around the edges with a little bit of decoupage first. I let that dry, and then I will go over the entire image with a very, very, very thin coat of decoupage to help protect it and help it so it doesn't like rip or anything like that. Now, do be careful when you're using your brayer on the tissue paper, because tissue paper is a little bit more sturdy than a napkin is, so it can handle a brayer a little better, but you do run the risk of tearing it, so just be very careful with that. Now, the wonderful thing about this is when you first place it on there, you can kind of see the tissue paper outline, but as you do the decoupage around the edge and you do the decoupage over the top of it, literally that edge vanishes. Like, it looks like this is either printed on there. I love how this looks. I love the water slide decal paper. You could easily use that for this project, but I feel like this, you don't get that sheen like you do with the decal paper. I think this is such a wonderful trick. And look at how beautiful these little blocks turned out. I think they turned out so cute. I think they're that perfect touch of farmhouse and French country. And if you wanted to place images around all sides of them, you easily could do that as well. It would be fun to have some different themes on all the different sides of them as well. I really feel like each of these pieces brings home that summer feel with that French country farmhouse vibe. I love the vintage feel that they all have too. It's so fun to be able to create different DIYs on a budget and be able to have the flexibility to change them out for different seasons or depending on your mood or have a different feel. And I think that any one of these DIYs would be a great touch to your decor, but I really feel like it really sends that vibe home when you put them all together and display them like this. It is such a beautiful vignette. I really love kind of tying the conventional, like with the bee decor, with the unconventional color of the purple. I think that is so fun to kind of take a little bit of a different twist on something and make it unique and your own. Today's playlist is posted in the comments as well as in my description box, so check that out. Everybody has 5 summer DIYs for you, and everybody kind of had the flexibility to do whatever summer meant to them. So you're going to get a lot of fun, different ideas for summer decor. It's kind of like going on summer vacation. So hit play on that playlist, sit back and see all of the beautiful DIYs everyone has for you. A great big thank you to Tammy from Happiness Created for guest hosting with me this month. Be sure to check out her channel as well as everybody else on the playlist. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll see you next time. Happy crafting! If you liked the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.